Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. So this is continuing to look fairly warm and fairly dry, especially the further westwards you go. Warmest conditions will be across parts of the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, Southwest England and Scotland, so we're continuing to have to deal with some trapped low-level cloud in the east, which are holding those temperatures down, and the UKV and other models are struggling to say exactly where it will break up. Some regions are seeing a lot more cloud than forecasted, other regions are seeing less cloud than forecasted, and it does make a big hit to the temperatures, 5 to maybe even as high as 10 degrees in some regions between a cloudy picture and a sunny picture. So those are the only really issues we'll have over the next 5 days, is determining where we'll see the thickest cloud and what those temperatures will be associated with that, as in some sunshine over the next 5 days could see 25 degrees in the west. But as we head to around the 7th to 10th of June, we could start to see a bit of a change, as we see especially on the GFS and the GEM, not so much on the ECMWF, but definitely those first two runs and some of the ensembles are hinting at that low pressure system that is sat out towards the Azores at the moment, heading our way on the GFS, moving warm air in, even hot air, and introducing some big thunderstorms, whereas the GM does introduce perhaps some instability, but mainly some very hot air, showing temperatures potentially as high as 30 degrees within the next week to 10 days. So interesting developments from those first two runs. Not seeing as much from the ECMWF, but similar perhaps changes in the overall spectrum from the ECMWF. And the ensembles, of course, give us the uncertainty associated with that. Definitely is looking warmer as we do head into June. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if you do start on the live radar again, very dry today, really nothing at all. We can see where all the instability is, all the hot air down towards southern Europe. And this is the repeating pattern we see pretty much every day. When we look at the live radar, big thunderstorms breaking out near the Mediterranean Sea. As that is where we've got one low pressure sat, another low pressure system sat out here, and big high pressure over northern and western Europe. Now, if you put on the temperatures, you'll see once again the east and west split. Not quite as extensive the cooler air today with the thicker cloud, but still through the East Midlands, North East England, Eastern Scotland, East Anglia as well. Further westwards and southwards, much nicer, and you can see widely high teens into low 20s, especially once again across parts of the Republic of Ireland. This should become more widespread over the coming days. Today we thought it would be a bit more widespread, and it has been a bit more widespread, the warmth, but once again these eastern regions, still a large proportion of the country still trapped under that thick cloud and those cooler conditions. Hopefully, as I said, we do see a bit of a breakthrough in the coming days. This cloud does move away, and it's looking likely that will happen tomorrow. But once again, I don't want to say it for definite, as things can change at very short notice. You can see very hot air across France, so that's why if we did see that southerly wind start to get drawn up in the next week to 10 days, the hot air is there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see high 20s or even 30 degrees if we did see a southerly flow. And if you look at the UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature, but probably really mainly the clouds on the precipitation charts here, you can see through this afternoon the cloud sort of only really in eastern areas. It's slightly further westwards and southwards than the UKV is showing. It's come slightly more inland there, but still mainly only towards eastern areas. Into tomorrow though, cloud initially in the morning, but look, by 3 p.m, almost nothing at all. Bit of a change in wind direction. So UKV definitely suggesting that most areas will see a really dry and sunny day tomorrow. A bit of a change for those eastern areas which have been trapped under that cloud over the past couple of days. As we head into Saturday, could see a bit of return of a bit of cloud in northern areas, maybe inland at times, but again, another bright day with a slight change in that wind direction. Into Sunday, again, another beautiful day. Could be a few showers here or there in the north, but nothing too much. And then finally into Monday, some cloud in the morning, but by the afternoon, generally another sunny picture, but a few showers popping up, maybe heavy showers popping up in a few isolated regions. Again, need to keep a very close eye on that. Nothing too crazy at this stage, but perhaps just signs that the pressure is starting to fall, and there is the risk we could start to see showers develop. The upper air temperatures look very warm over the coming days. Not really any change, really hovering around that 10-degree mark, slightly below, slightly above at times. Again, all giving rise to temperatures around the high teens, low 20s widely, maybe mid-20s in a few isolated spots. You see through this afternoon, widely 18 to 20 degrees for southern and western regions, as high as 22 or 23 in some parts of southwest England and the Republic of Ireland. Further eastwards, only 14 or 15. As we head into tomorrow, again, those temperatures will rise more widely. Still, eastern areas could be a little bit chillier, but widely 18 to 20 degrees, again peaking at 21 or 22. Into Saturday, another very warm day. Even those eastern regions starting to reach the high teens or low 20s, again widely 18 to 20 degrees, touching 21 to 23 through southern England and parts of the Republic of Ireland and Wales as well. And then, again, some other isolated spots too. Into Sunday will be another very nice day, widely here, 20 to 22, with locally 23 or 24. Very warm, well above average, looking really nice through this weekend. And into Monday, it will be a similar picture. In some regions, 23 or 24, maybe 25 degrees, but a little bit cooler further northwards, and eastwards once again a bit of cooler air drifting in. But it's looking likely that over the coming days, that cloud will clear in the east, those temperatures will rise, and it will be much brighter and warmer through Saturday into Monday, as we do see warm air just sat over the top of us, and some beautiful sunshine out there. So looking really quite great through the weekend into the start of next week. I don't want to guarantee that though, simply because that cloud could drift in, slight change in wind direction, but the picture at the moment is for very warm and very dry conditions to be for all. So we do look at the GFS now. Now this is developing a warm and thundery period in the middle third of June. Now if we do run through it, you can see high pressure is dominating at the moment, but the low pressure system sat towards the Azores that's really starts to spin up over the next 5 days, starts to head our way. It slowly drifts northwards and eventually starts to move its way towards the UK, drawing up a southerly wind as it does, combined with a low actually dropping out of the Arctic, all recombining out in the Atlantic, spinning up towards the UK, giving us very unsettled, unstable conditions, combined with a hot southerly flow. You can see very hot air on its eastern edge, cold air on its western edge, and we are just stuck in the middle of that instability. If we do run it back, you see as the low does approach towards the day 10 period, does spin up some warm air, initially only for the south, but all air is starting to get encroached by that warm, hot air by around day 14 or so, with some very hot air through northern western Europe and a lot of instability. You can see the temperature deviation here, a good 8 to 10 degrees above average, but most importantly, if we have a look at the Cape, which shows us the conductive potential we do have there, and you can see all those oranges and reds developing in the longer term through northern and western Europe and creeping onto the British Isles as well. So could be some homegrown storms, but even if there aren't any homegrown storms, some big storms across parts of northern and western Europe in the longer term here, and that could move its way towards the UK as imports and give us some very, very lively conditions. And even if the thunderstorms don't entirely survive, we will likely see heavy rain with that. You can see the temperatures as well, hotter air moving in, so low to mid 20s quite widely towards the end of this run, but again it will be very much dependent on the rainfall, and you can see a lot more heavy rain here, but a lot of it really only appearing beyond day 10, as we do see those heavy thunderstorms move in associated with that low pressure system, and of course some pop-up storms as well. Now the GEM has a very similar pattern, but the instability stays further away. So instead of seeing warm, maybe hot at times with a lot of rain and thundery weather, we see very dry and very, very warm for early June. Now if you run through it, again high pressure dominating, that low approaches from the southwest towards day 7, but doesn't fully infiltrate its way towards the UK. High pressure dominates more to our east. We see a southerly flow. Look at that air mass, 10 degrees, maybe as high as 14 or 15 degrees in a few spots, making its way from the southwest, from the southeast, Look at that air mass getting towards 10 degrees above average for the UK. Look at those 2-meter temperatures. You can see by daytime, midday here, widely 28 to perhaps as high as 30 degrees. Again, these are the midday temperatures. We can look at the 6 p.m. there, again at 28, but you'd think by 3 or 4 p.m. we could be seeing 30 degrees somewhere with this sort of pattern. Very warm from the GM, but it's because we keep that low pressure to our southwest, just the bottom left of the screen here at bay, and it just brings warm, hot air in from the near continent over a very short sea track here for England and Wales, and it just means that things just pipe up in terms of temperatures and gets very hot towards the end of this run. Equally though, if it did have a subtle shift, following more from the GFS pattern, and that low pressure was a few hundred miles closer by, we'd likely see a lot more rainfall. You can see the rain there just out to our south and our west here, trying to push its way in, but really only infiltrating the far southwest, even actually getting close to southern England right at the end of the run here. So on the cusp of very hot and thundery, but on the side of drier and hotter here than on the thundery side that the GFS is going for. Now, the ECMWF does have a sort of overall very similar pattern, but it does it in it doesn't quite go through the hot air, and it doesn't quite bring in thundery weather either. You see the high pressure dominates over the coming days. Low pressure spins up, tries to head our way, combined with that low, but the wind's more in from an easterly instead of a southeasterly, so the air isn't actually that warm, and the lows don't really recombine at day 10, so it actually stays reasonably dry, and the upper air temperatures aren't anything exceptional. Again, we look at the accumulated precipitation, very little. So the upper air temperatures not deviating too much from average, maybe slightly above. So nothing really going on here. Very similar to what we have at the moment from the ECMWF, with very little change. Change in the overall pattern, the overall positioning of low pressure, high pressure, but for the actual surface conditions, there wouldn't really be too much of a change. Now, if you look at the ensembles and see what they are reflecting, for the GFS here, we're pretty much above average for the foreseeable future, and around that 10th of June point, we do bring the risk of more precipitation spikes. Again, with a thundery outlook, the ensembles won't perform all too well, as they sometimes do struggle to show all that convection. So perhaps it is underdoing the precipitation here, but still not a huge signal for anything truly unsettled, but some very warm runs, so definitely many going for that sort of mid to high 20s pattern, and we can see that from the 2 meter temperatures here in the longer term, widely the averages of above 20 degrees at midday, and midday to 6 p.m, some of the peaks here getting towards the 25 degree range, and you'd expect at 3 p.m. somewhere to get a little bit higher. So definitely a lot hotter and an upwards trend from the GFS ensemble members here. If we compare it to the ECMWF ensemble members, again, above average for the foreseeable future. Some more cooler runs in the longer term, but the majority are still on that upwards trend around that 10th of June point before we see a bit more uncertainty. And precipitation does pick up, but again, nothing too crazy. So the ensemble members are definitely appearing a bit hotter in the longer term, definitely holding some precipitation, but not really giving huge confidence in any single pattern. So the GFS and GM definitely suggesting that low pressure is moving our way, definitely bringing some very hot air in, and potentially some very thundery conditions as well. But the ensemble members a little bit more reluctant with it. Definitely some showing that definitely that warmer air mass could be on its way, but not as bullish as the individual runs have been at this stage. Just need to keep a very, very close eye on it. And finally, look at the 2 meter temperatures from the ECMWF. Definitely upwards trend in the longer term, but once again, no massive signal at this stage, just a general upwards trend more towards the low to mid-20s compared to the high teens that we do have widely at the moment. Not only that will be to account for warmer air masses moving in, but also the further we head into the summer, the warmer the ground gets, the warmer the North Sea gets, and that means any of the easterly flows and any sort of cooling patterns do slowly degrade away. So that also, we have to take that into account as well. So it's looking like there will still be a great next 5 days at least, perhaps longer. But the risk is for something a bit hotter perhaps, and something a bit more thundery as we head to around that 10th to 15th of June point. We'll have to keep a very close eye on it, but it could be a big change coming up as we do progress through June. As I said, we'll keep you updated, so make sure you do enjoy the next sort of 5 to 7 days if you do love this generally warm and dry weather. Hopefully for those eastern areas it will be warm and dry, as it hasn't been too great there over the past few days. But hopefully, as I said, this weekend things will be great for all areas. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.